Welcome to Bus Speakers. I'm Kush.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Cam.
Today reviewing Brantley Gilbert, The Devil Don't Sleep. Brantley Gilbert is an alternative country, bro country musician who's been performing since 2005. It's his fourth album, and actually for some reason this is topping. It's like in 34th place in Australia, so that's that.
I have no idea why that would be.
No clue. I don't know why country's going on in Australia, because this is like an American thing. Very few people listen to country outside of America. Don't know why it's popular.
I know. I've barely even heard of any of these bro country artists. I mean, I have no affiliation with Brantley Gilbert. I just saw country and thought maybe it's a decent country album. But that might not be true. Well, it isn't true.
I'm just gonna come out here and say that here's my rant. So so I understand country has typical country topics like guns, cars, and girls that they want to cover, but you don't need to force those stereotypes to make a decent country song. There are country musicians, obviously, like Johnny Cash and people like that, who have made their career on not sticking to those country stereotypes. And when you stick to those country stereotypes, you just kind of prove to people and fortify the fact that country music is boring, generic, and stupid. For the most part, in this album, the lyrics are absolute garbage and repetitive and so pointless, and it really just takes away from the album, because I think the instrumentation, despite being bad, or not bad, despite being boring, is not awful. And I think that when you do something like this and ruin the song with the lyrics, it just really does take away from your credibility as an artist.
Yeah, lyrically this is complete trash. There's a lot of examples where it sounds like he's like a 10-year-old kid writing down things that he thinks are cool, like trucks, guns, bikes, women, chicks, I don't know. It just reaffirms, like you were saying, what people think is true about country. But it doesn't have to be like this. There was outlaw country in the 70s with people like Waylon Jennings, Chris Christopherson, Willie Nelson, which had cool songs about being against the law, being bandits, having adventures. That's pretty corny as well, but it's like cool. And I don't know, and also I noticed that most of these songs refer to Christianity or God or church. Some really prominently, some just seem to mention it once. Is that common in bro country or modern country? Do they always
in country
mention
music,
that?
Yeah, in country music, look, a lot of the audience for country music is religious Christian people anyways. I watched the movie God's Not Dead. A terrible movie, but one of the main people who was is a Christian movie. One of the main Christian advocates was a country musician, and I think that's very prominent in terms of just like country musicians in general, that they are normally more religious than most artists are, at least in musical influence.
Wouldn't know it from this, because it's really crude lyrically.
Oh yeah,
you wouldn't think religious people would be into this.
Can I jump in now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Kush, you're going to college in Chicago right now, right?
Yeah, well, Illinois.
Yeah, Illinois. Are you from the Chicago area?
Yeah, I'm from the suburbs.
Okay, so I'm more from I'm not from a big a farm town or anything. I didn't live on a farm, but I was in a community that loved country music pretty much above all. So I've picked up on some things that help me understand this album and not really hate it. Just because I can kind of understand what he's doing and how it doesn't almost never works, but I just get what he's going for, and it says, it doesn't say good things about the state of country music these days, but I understand the the appeal of it, I guess. Nobody in country music these days is writing Johnny Cash style gospel albums. If they do, then it's just classified under bluegrass more than anything. But it's just the kind of thing where country music is at a point where all you need to do is write about the typical country things, and there's an audience for it, because they tune into the country radio stations to hear the songs that they liked yesterday, and then there's going to be some quote-unquote news songs that just cover the same topics, but they're, technically new songs. So it's like, oh, it's something different, even though it's just more of the same. And that's like, it just keeps perpetuating itself like this. And, in order to get all those, you got to have songs about, parties in, the back of your truck, on somebody's farmland, on their lake at midnight or whatever. And you got to have some songs that talk about being an outlaw but don't actually say anything about it. And you got to have, a few tips of the hat to Jesus. And that's what it takes to be a trying to think of a good word for it, but just like a country artist who is just as good as any other country artist these days. And I mean, like, radio country, like you can have, like, someone like Sturgill Simpson. I still haven't heard his albums yet, but he's got some decent acclaim for his alt country stuff. And then you got I can't think of his name, Chris Stapleton, who has like a more specific sound, more indebted to 70s outlaw country and just older music like that. And he's got a very distinct voice that doesn't have a lot of the annoying features of modern bro country artists. And his album was really good. But then you got your Brantley Gilberts and Blake Sheltons, and I can't think of any more because they're all just the same
Florida
white
Georgia
guy.
Line.
Oh Lord, they're I can handle the Brantley Gilberts, the Blake Sheltons, and them, but I hate Florida Georgia Line. And like, I think I talked about, like, I don't think we talked about it in any episode, but I think I mentioned their song "Holy" sometime ago. That song.
Yeah, I hate that song.
When I found out about that song, it pissed me off. It's like just invoking Jesus imagery, not even like Jesus imagery, just like saying holy and talking about what the way I described it was like, you guys know the South Park episode where Cartman tries to get a platinum record with the Christian rock band?
I don't watch South Park.
I think I've seen that a while ago. I don't know.
Yeah, well, basically, what Cartman does is he takes, like, he doesn't actually like take an older love song, but just like takes the kind of lyrics you would find in a pop love song and switches out like the girls and babies to be like Jesus and God and stuff like that. And he, like, the whole point of the episode is just pointing out how generic and lazy Christian songwriting can be, at least the stuff that gets popular, and also how creepy it is to basically write what are basically love songs that can occasionally have erotic elements to them about Jesus. And that's like what they were doing the opposite of with Holy. And it's like, instead of being a love song about Jesus, it was a love song about Jesus that's still about a girl.
Yeah.
And
I think
some people on our
most Christian-esque or religious songs can be replaced with, like, remove the word God and put in like a girl's name, and it would be just a love song.
Yeah, but like, the thing that got me really riled up about this song is that people still, like, at least on RYM, we're still saying it's a CCM song, and I'm just like, no, it's not. No self-respecting Christian station would play this song because it's clearly about a girl. And if they did play it, they would be the biggest idiots in the world. And I know that I'm getting off on like a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with this, but this is just like the landscape that Brantley Gilbert is putting this music out in. So all it takes to like have a well-selling country album with well-charting singles is write about the same typical parties, the girls, sex, and everything. Throw in a little bit of Jesusness in there, like the song
like
ends with this like slow ballad where he's like trembling as he's going into the lake to get baptized, and he's just like, is it really that easy? Is it that easy to wash away all the sins that I've done. And I don't believe for a second that this guy is any kind of actual outlaw. None of the outlaw songs are like say anything about being an outlaw. Like you will never catch a modern bro country singer writing an outlaw song where he says anything as specific as I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. Outlaw country used to be about people doing things, and now it's just guys saying, "Oh, I've got a past, baby. You don't want to mess with me. I'm no good to you." And it's just like you're not reading about anything. You're talking about ideas without bagging it up with anything. And
yeah,
it's so ugh. That's all I can say. It's ugh.
So
it's like a checklist of things that artists have to get airplay. That's like what this album kind of does.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that because every song seemed to have pretty much, like you're saying, religious content, talking about girls and material objects, cars, guns, all the sort of same stuff.
yeah, I mean, so for at least for the track listing, the song "The Ones That Like Me" was actually horrendous, really bland, and then the lyric was "The ones that like me love me," and I'm like, people say that all the time, but if they like you, then they like you, and if they love you, they would probably let you know that they love you. Like, it doesn't make sense saying they like me, so they love me. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Next song, The Weeknd.
That whole song's just like the ones who X me, Y me. It just puts irrelevant words that together using that sentence structure.
Yeah, you'll be
except
fine.
maybe
Radiohead.
have a loose positive or negative connections. Just really bad lyrics overall.
It's just like it's a humble brag song with that one. It's like, anyone who likes me even a little bit, they adore me. I am so awesome that, nobody can, like, people can hate me all they want, but if you like me even a little bit, it means that you think I am a god among men.
So yeah.
I think just before we go into any tracks hardcore, I think we need to talk about the production and how weirdly bad it is. It has a weird, it's like a wall of sound brick wall in which I thought had died in the 90s, early 2000s. I felt like this album had it a bit, and like you were saying earlier, Kush, the instrumentation isn't bad. It's just mixed too prominently and doesn't fit for country. I feel like some of these songs have like hard metal riffs. Some of them sound like that. Some of them are just way too melodic.
Yeah, that's the point with like bro country, like bands like Hinder and Nickelback to an extent. They always have those like more metal-esque influences that are just aggressive with country, which is just a really weird combo. I don't really enjoy it as much. There are obviously some songs that are exceptions, but I think this was just not one of them.
I never got country from Hinder. Like, I mean, I never heard anything after Lips of an Angel, but like, I think that you can get away with like, you can hand wave the instrumentation on this album by calling it country rock, which I think it's listed as that on Wikipedia. And it really is just like, it's just hard rock with a twang, kind of.
But some of this sounds like hard rock or new metal because of how prominently mixed these hard rock guitars are. I don't think it fits. Like,
for sure.
This is like more like country. This is more like country metal, which I think does exist in some form. Like Metallica on the albums Load and Reload, they had a few country metal songs and they weren't very good. And but they actually had one country only song, Mama Said, which was actually pretty nice, none of that here. Just the mixing on this just makes it sound really bad and brick-walled. Sounds a bit like Oasis's Be Here Now and just how messy some of this sounds. But weirdly, it doesn't sound badly played, it just sounds too prominently mixed for me, and that is most prominently noticed by me in the song, The Ones That Like Me, because at the end, he says, while there's a really loud guitar solo, because he was just saying, like, the ones who like me love me, and if you don't, there's probably a pretty good chance I don't like you either. But it's mixed so it's mixed so badly that you couldn't tell. It's underneath a really loud guitar that you can't even tell, and he like laughs. So it sounds like he's like he doesn't care if people don't like him, but it also sounds like he is too afraid to actually say that, and it's like hidden away. It doesn't work. It sounds like a badass declaration, but it's mixed so badly it fails completely, that bit.
Yeah. So the song "The Weekend."
No.
Lyrics are pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Take a shot of regret. Like, everyone said that. I think every country band has said that before. And it's very Nickelback-esque, old Nickelback, I guess, if you want to consider it to that. And Nickelback's coming out with a new album this year, so it's gonna be hyped up. But yeah, "You Could Be That Girl" was stupid. You said the word "baby girl" 4,000 times, as an approximation. Instrumentation, while generic, isn't bad. Actually, I think throughout the whole record, the instrumentation was pretty decent, and I like how he implemented some guitar solos too, and I thought it was fine. It's just that his voice and his lyrics were just so disgustingly bad that it kind of ruined the little bit of benefit that the instrumentations had. But now, hold on, the song "Bro Code."
Oh no. This is the worst part of the album because it has bro code, it's about to get dirty. I think that's quite near The Weekend, which...
Yeah, and then "You Could Be That," yeah. So,
yeah, all that rubbish songs.
The Bro Code song, it's a stupid title, and they have a banjo in bro country, then he has an electric guitar, and so it's like a banjo electric guitar combo.
Yeah, this is what I mean though. This is like, they're played well, the banjo and electric guitar, but they don't fit well together.
No, they don't.
They sound like he got some guy to play them, and then he just stuck them on a track and just said, "Oh, that'll probably work," and they almost never do for me. So it doesn't matter how well played they are; they're just in a context where it doesn't work at all.
So I mean, I learned a lot of things from this song. Actually, I learned like you shouldn't have sex with your friend's girlfriend, and now I know not to make the mistake. So thank you, Brantley Gilbert. You've done a great job.
Yeah, it's
but really,
code, man.
Was the song needed for this? Like, isn't that just like statement? Like, isn't that a given that you don't do that to your friend's girlfriend? I don't know. Maybe not in the country world, but I thought the song was unnecessary.
It's not only unnecessary, it's just one of the worst country songs I've heard in a while. This seems like a pretty douchey system, this bro code, because the general code seems to be that you ignore when people are having sex with each other's girlfriends, or you like let it slide. But this guy's like breaking the code and saying, and this lyric, "And I know bro code and I ain't breaking it, but bro, you got yourself a situation, bro. We get it, you guys are bros." I mean, you don't have to say that many times.
Yeah,
I don't want to be taking relationship advice from Brantley, and I really don't like the liberal use of post-grunge heavy metal guitars in this one. This is probably the worst example I can think of at the moment.
Might be misunderstanding you guys, but I think the big problem with the song is that, like, I mean, this might be what you guys are saying is unnecessary about it, but it's like, if you know bro code and you're not breaking it, like, I can't imagine any element of the bro code that, like, would prevent you from telling your bro that his girl is trying to sleep with you.
I know, the code doesn't make sense.
Yeah, his understanding of the code is clearly a complete misunderstanding, so it just makes him sound like an idiot.
There shouldn't be a code. What? I don't get this. I've never heard of any group of people who have some code like this to allow behaviour like this to generally exist.
Have you never seen How I Met Your Mother?
Oh, I mean, yeah, but that's fictional.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, it's, you know, bro code has become part of American lexicon, at least American, you know, because at least largely because of that show, and you know, it's just like the way people understand the bro code to work in that context makes absolutely no sense with what he's saying. I
don't know. When I saw that song title,
he doesn't even understand.
When I saw that song title, it was just, oh god. And I know we talked about The Weekend before, but this is why I was saying that Train's What Good Is Saturday is so weird to complain about, because this is the type of song you always get about people glorifying The Weekend and hating it when it ends, so that was why that song was so weird to me. And the lyrics on this are just absolutely terrible. like backwoods looking like Panama City, bunch of jacked up trucks and bikinis, and
Nice
like
rhyme.
city in bikini. Oh, having visions of summertime. But wait a minute, this is later tonight. This is like the Pat Monahan songbook of things that don't make any structural sentence. They don't make sense as a sentence. They just make they're passable as a lyric, not even passable. And this is like the quota of having a religious mention on this song. Like, somebody said something about church on Sunday, amen. Somebody said something about work on Monday, don't say it again. I mean, what are these lyrics? Every song has lyrics as bad as that, basically, apart from a few towards the end.
You know what?
But this was the second song, and it was the one where I really heard, like, just how bad it was going to be the whole way through.
You know what I didn't understand? The beginning half of the record is more bro country than like the heavy guitar riffs and the heavy drumming and more like aggressive vocals. And the second half goes really solemn, more of like a ballad type style. I didn't understand.
I was gonna get to that.
I understand why there's such a division line.
If it was like half acoustic or half electric, half acoustic, like straight acoustic, I could almost understand it, because you got precedent for that. You got Bringing It All Back Home. You got the Foo Fighters double album where they did that. But this was just like you got a radical change in pace with the first slow song, whatever it was, almost exactly halfway through the album. And then from there, I'm just like waiting for them to make another one pick it up, because it's like, okay, it's too late for a change in pace to be really effective. And then I'm just like waiting for another one to pick things back up tempo, but then they're just all slow. And it just drug this thing out so much.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, because the first half of this is just party hard, hardcore country bros having a great time, apparently. And then the second half is like him facing with his demons on half of them. And I don't know anything about Brantley Gilbert, but if he's anything like he portrays himself on this album, I don't like him as a guy. But maybe this is like a fictional version of him that he portrays on this album, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so a couple songs towards the end I didn't like. Bullitt and the Bonfire.
Oh no.
I didn't understand at all what he was singing about. I guess it doesn't matter because it probably wasn't meaningful anyways, but why do people still use punk as an insult? I don't understand, like it's not really an insult, is it? I don't think it's an insult.
Well, it's only an insult from old people, like, oh, you punk kids or something like that. Yeah, but
he seems like maybe late 20s, early 30s. He's not old.
No.
I think it's because you can't use the F word or you'll offend all the Midwestern soccer moms.
But he's literally talking about having sex with your friend's girlfriend. Like,
not in the songs that they're listening to. They can just, these days you can pick and choose. You can just hear this one on the radio and totally ignore all of the dirty, sexy outlaw stuff that's on the rest of the album. You can buy whatever songs you want on iTunes.
Yeah.
Well, compared to Bro Code, this song is like, it doesn't make sense as a narrator. This is like the complete opposite. This is him talking about how he's I don't know, it's like this person had mistreated his woman before, and even his woman at the start says that he shouldn't go out this guy, but he says, like, cause if you think you're badass on a lady, boy, you ought to see a grown-ass man on a punk-ass joke like you. I actually laughed out loud when I heard that, because just how stupid and childish these lyrics are. And, he's saying Bullitt in a Bonfire and other supposedly cool metaphors for himself, but it's really just him glorifying violence over a woman.
For sure.
That's all this is. And this doesn't make sense, because there's no bro code element to this. This is just him supposedly being true to his woman. So...
Well, no, I think I had an easier time interpreting this stuff than you guys did, because I have had a lot of exposure to bro country, and that probably just broke the volume on the recording, but whatever. But like, this is like just a song about, I don't know what connection Brantley has to the girl, but it's just, her current boyfriend, husband, whatever, has been beating her, like whether this is the first time or it's repeated or whatever. But she came to him for help, and now he's saying, you beat her, so I'm going to kick the crap out of you. But it kind of falls apart if you take the bullet in a bonfire thing literally, which you kind of have to, because everybody knows that if you actually put a bullet in a hot surrounding, it's not going to do anything. Put it in an oven, put it in a live fire. You need to hit I forget what it's called, just the cap on the back end of it in order for it to actually fire. Just heating up the gunpowder isn't going to do anything. So all you're doing is getting hot under the collar without doing anything effective.
Yeah. I definitely think, because I've had very little to no experience with any bro country, that I find it hard to relate, let alone understand most of these metaphors he's trying to go for. It's like a completely different world to what I'm usually encountering in my life or musically. So a lot of this is just really, really bizarre to me.
Yeah, I think the very last song, 3 Feet of Water, probably his most emotional song.
It's another piano one. It's another piano ballad.
It's probably his most emotional song. And I had no clue what he was talking about until I realized that, until you said about the baptism. I'm like, oh, the song's about a baptism. Or is that what it's called? I think so.
Yeah,
I'm not Christian, so I wouldn't know. But like the entire song, I was like, what is he talking about? I'm so confused. And then I finally clicked now, like 2 minutes ago. But yeah, it was boring. The second half of the song dragged and was just boring for me.
The only song I thought was okay was the title track. And when I say okay, I mean like passable. That's what we'd say. It's not good. Well, I don't know. It seems good compared to the rest, because I think it's like the fourth or fifth last song. Yeah. So we've had our fair share of crap country, and I repeat, this isn't really a good song, but it's probably the only one where there isn't one really embarrassing lyric. As long as you like ignore the highly religious content, and if you don't mind that, then you'll probably be okay. The loud guitars are actually implemented well here.
Yeah, I thought the intro riff was really interesting. I thought it was unique and something that I didn't hear before, but still, it was an okay song.
Yeah, it had some good chugging riffs, and it worked well with the melodic ones, because that's the problem I have with the instrumentation, is that he has at least two different separate guitar layers that don't work well together. This is what I mean. They played well, but they don't work well.
Yeah,
and they actually work well in this song. The choruse's melody reminds me of Love It When You Call by The Feeling, which was a very minor hit in the UK in like 2005. But there's no way Brantley knows that song unless he was on some foreign exchange in the UK in the mid-2000s. But I can't imagine that. So I'm not going to hold him against that. Because the more albums we cover, the more similar vocal melodies we'll come across. So I need to stop like using that as a, I don't know, critique, when, like I say, there's not an unlimited amount of vocal melodies in the world. But yeah, that was an okay song. That surprised me.
Yeah, I think so. What would you rate it, Alex?
I mean, 2.5. I didn't like it in any way. Is that low, do you think? I mean, I didn't like any of these songs. I mean, there were songs like It's About to Get Dirty. I mean, how can I get in with songs like this? Yeah, I mean, 2.5 are just really bad country. The only good thing about it was it wasn't as EDM influenced or heavy as like Florida Georgia Line and some other bro country ones. But on the whole, this was just bad music implemented in the absolutely wrong way.
How about you, Cam?
Well, can I say a few more things before I do?
Sure.
I actually have a few more as well, but I don't know.
Okay, well maybe they'll overlap. But like, there were a few songs that I actually thought would have worked better. Like they showed promise. Like if he tried, he could write a whole album about songs like these that actually worked. Like We're Gonna Ride Again and Devil Don't Sleep. I like those songs because they were actually about things. Like I was saying before, you got so many, like every bro country artist will just write about the parties, about, doing something, like having a past without actually saying what that past was. And they're like, oh, I'm just a former badass with a heart of gold or whatever. And it's just like all the same boring garbage. But then, we're gonna write again. It's about an older guy that he respects and looks up to. I don't know what specific connection they have, but it's just like, they're both bikers, they're both Harley riders, and I guess this guy died and he's just like, yeah, we're gonna ride again. And that's like, it's nothing earth-shattering, but it's a good idea and it's a good song, and I felt it. And like, I guess the Devil Don't Sleep, like I'm reading some of the album bio on Genius, and apparently it's about like he I don't know, maybe he's a recovering alcoholic or something, or a recovering addict.
I can imagine.
So it's like, the devil in this case is that devil, whatever he was addicted to. And there the religious imagery works a little bit better because there's something behind it and there's something to it. But like Kush, you said that 3 Feet of Water was like the most emotional song, and I agree. But the emotion wasn't effective because it's just like he spends the whole album, here's a song about, this hot girl that I'm having sex with. Here's a generic party song, and we're gonna, smoke weed and all this other stuff. Here's, I used to be an outlaw and it's still following me around and everything. And, a song about baptism just felt insincere. Like, I could go on, like, and on, like, one time Todd in the Shadows compared modern country to hip hop, saying that, they're both, they both appeal to, a working class demographic and claim to be part of that demographic while actually doing nothing to, support that. I feel like I could make a really good video comparing like an album like this to Pimp a Butterfly or something like that. Just a hip hop album where there's also like a lot of debauchery, a lot of violence and everything, and also a lot of religious imagery, but it feels earned and they actually kind of work well together. But this one is just like throwing everything into the pot without any actual any meaning to it, any life lived behind it, any emotion to it, and everything about it just falls flat. But at the same time, nothing in here, I didn't find anything in here as outright unlistenable or offensive as some bro country artists have heard, with worse voices and dumber songs and actively bad instrumentation. Like, I agree that there was a lot of like bad mixing, but I can't really say I hated it when I know for a fact that there's bro country artists with terrible like EDM influence, terrible hip hop influence, bad rapping, bad rap guest verses and stuff like that. So in the grand scheme of things, I didn't like this album, but I can't hate it knowing that there's much worse out there. So I'm settling on a 5 good old boys out of 10.
That's the problem I had with it, though, is that this is the first time I've listened to a bulk load of bro country like this in one. This is a really long album, an hour long at least. And this was just completely not the country I'm used to. Maybe, like you say, if I had some content, some context with some other bro country artists, I'd like this or appreciate it somewhat more. But as it stands, I'm not really liking any of these songs apart from the title track, and there are just lyrics on here I just can't like. I had such a low appreciation for the guy. Like, there was a song, You Could Be That Girl, that the first line is, well, I'm looking for a Bonnie. When I first heard that, I swear he said, well, I'm looking for a body, because I thought he had such low respect for women that he just viewed them as like things for him to use. After a song like Bro Code, I hope you don't blame me, but I don't know, I didn't like it, so I'll stand by my 2.5.
That's a fair point. I mean, so I gave it a 4 just because like I felt there were aspects to this where it worked, and especially the later half of the album, despite being boring, was not just over the top annoying. The first half was just obnoxious and annoying and bad. But the instrumentation was pretty good. Mixing was bad, but the instrumentation, I think he had a decent voice for a country artist. And it's not the best, not the worst, but like not bad. And there were a couple songs that I felt like he had actual passion for making, like 3 Feet of Water and Devil Don't Sleep. But overall, just lyrically, it's really, really bad, and there's just nothing much there besides aggressive instrumentation. And it kind of takes away a lot from the artist, that he cannot focus his album, because like he has all this religious imagery, but then he also has things that would have been considered taboo in his religion that he brags about, like having sex with females and just partying all day, which fine, you can, if that's your lifestyle, you can live it. But if it feels kind of hypocritical then to go to the next track and talk about how he's like taking a baptism, or he's talking about like how much God has influenced his music. But that's my 2 cents.
If there is any kind of intention, any kind of arc, any kind of flow to it, it could work, but there isn't. It's just hitting all of the marks, checking all the boxes, and just producing a product for people to consume with no consideration for artistry. And it sounds like I should be giving it a lot worse rating than that, but like I said, there is much worse country out there. I've heard more of it than I care to admit. So, yeah, hate it all you want. I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise.
I thought there was a slight concept to this because of the fact that the first half was all party hard, rocking out songs, and then the second half was him trying to redeem himself. Maybe you could look at it in that way, but I don't think that was intentional in any way. But maybe that's what he intended, but it didn't work. Just so much things about this doesn't work. Like, if he focused on the guitar solos, they all sound exactly the same to me, and he sings over all of them, kinda. So the main problem I had with this was definitely the mixing and how things didn't work well together, more than the problems this creates or has in bro country today. But if a album's mixed this not well together, it can really turn me off what's better than it is.
Well, then if this is a too long didn't watch, that's a bad bro country album that's not as bad as other bro country albums.
Well, I don't want to hear any worse than this, let me tell you.
Yeah, thanks for tuning into Busted Speakers. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Let us know how you feel about this album in the comments below, and follow us on social media.